Hi students, welcome back. This afternoon I'm going to read a folk tale to you. In celebration of St. Patrick's Day, it will be an Irish folk tale. But first I'd like to remind you about what a traditional tale is. Now, if you'll remember, around the winter holidays in December and January, we learned a lot about traditions. Traditions are things that a group of people do in the same way, and they've been doing it that similar way over and over and over again for a long time. There can be traditional clothing, traditional foods, traditional ways of doing things, traditional songs, and of course traditional tales. So we learned about 3 different kinds of traditional tales. We kind of broke them into 3 groups. We learned about the folk tale, the fairy tale, and the nursery rhyme. A folk tale is a story that can have human or animal characters that is often teaching us a lesson. Like they'll say the moral of the story is, at the end of the story you might think about that. A fairy tale is similar to a folk tale, but maybe there's just a little extra magic, like actual fairies in it. I think sometimes when we think about Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty, we consider those to be more a fairy tale than a folk tale. And then there are nursery rhymes. Nursery rhymes are very short, actual kind of little stories that you learn when you're a little kid. That rhyme, for example, little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, sat down beside her, and frightened Miss Muffet away. And that is a little story about little Miss Muffet. And it rhymes, and it's something you learn when you're in the nursery. That means when you're little, just like you go to buy little plants at a nursery, right? So that's a nursery rhyme. And today I'm going to read a folk tale to you, an Irish folk tale by Tomie dePaola. Now when I say it's by Tomie dePaola, that's not really accurate, that's not really correct, because folk tales are retold by the authors and illustrators who choose to make new books out of them. And if you'll remember Tomie dePaola, he's really famous for Straganona. Some of you have probably had Straganona before, heard Straganona stories. And we've also discovered that Tomie dePaola has written some nonfiction books. This is an information book all about popcorn that we enjoyed reading in the fall. And today I'm going to read to you an Irish folk tale by Tomie dePaola. Okay, here we go. Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, an Irish folk tale. Let me sneak peek the cover. I see Jamie O'Rourke, this must be him, and his dog and his cat, and there's a big, a giant, a humongous potato. And in his hand he's holding a hoe. That's a gardening tool that some of you may be using in your garden soon. And if I sneak peek the cover on the back, there's a leprechaun with his pot of gold. So I think there must be some leprechaun magic in this story. Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, an Irish folk tale retold and illustrated by Tomie dePaola. Wow, on this title page there's a beautiful illustration of, I think, Jamie O'Rourke's cottage. That's his little house up at the top of the hill. And there's his field. I don't know if he has anything growing in it. And I think that must be his wife and his dog and his cat. And there are 3 sheep. Oh wow, there's Jamie O'Rourke sitting on a bench outside his house taking a nap. And there's the hoe leaned up against the shed over here. Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in all of Ireland. He would do anything to avoid working, especially if it had to do with growing potatoes. Oh, now he's in bed. Well, taking another nap. There's his wife. Jamie O'Rourke, his wife Eileen would say, we'll have nothing to eat this winter if you don't go out and dig up the praties. Oh, praties must be like an Irish word for potatoes.
"Oh, the saints preserve us," Jamie would whine. "Me back's as sore as can be. Sure as I'm telling you, wife, you'll have to go dig them up yourself. I'll break in two if I so much as get up out of this bed."
Oh my goodness, he won't even go outside and do the work of digging the potatoes. So Eileen, who had done all the planting and watering and weeding anyhow, would go out to the tiny garden and dig up the smallest potatoes in Ireland, all because Jamie was too lazy to dig a larger garden and had no money to buy good potato seed. Wow, I'm making a connection to the little red hen because it says Eileen had to do all the planting and watering and weeding. Now she's doing the digging up too. Oh, now Eileen is in bed. I wonder what happened. Then poor Eileen wrenched her back. That means she hurt her back and was laid up in bed. Saint Bridget and the Virgin Mary herself must have smiled on Eileen O'Rourke, the village women said. Why, it's the first rest she's had since she married Jamie O'Rourke. Oh my goodness. In the village they're saying it's kind of lucky for Eileen that she finally gets to have a rest. With Eileen in bed, Jamie began to worry. No Eileen to dig meant no praties all winter. And no praties, that's potatoes, remember. No praties meant no food.
"Oh, poor me," wailed Jamie. "I'll starve to death. I'd better go to church and confess to Father O'Malley. There's no telling how soon old Death will be knocking on me door."
So even though it was midnight, Jamie set out for the church. He was about halfway down the hill when he heard singing and a tap, tap, tapping sound. Wow. You know, before I continue, I'm going to stop to think, because sometimes it helps you understand if you think, what's going to happen next? It's midnight, and there's singing and some tap, tap, tapping. I wonder if this is where he meets a leprechaun. Let's see. Wow, there it is. "Sure, and I wouldn't be knowin'," Jamie whispered, "but I swear it's a leprechaun." And sure enough, sitting in a circle of ferns in the moonlight was a leprechaun singing and hammering tiny nails into the heels of the fairy boots he was making. Jamie knew just what to do. He crept up and grabbed the little man by his coat tails and held firm. "Let me go! Let me go!" the leprechaun shouted.
"Not on your life," Jamie said. "Not until you show me where you keep your pot of gold."
Oh my goodness. And he's got him by the coat tails. There's another compound word. Coat tails. Coat tails. It's like the tail, the end of the coat. Now, everyone in Ireland knows that leprechauns make boots and dancing shoes for the fairies, who pay for them with gold. And everyone knows that if you catch a leprechaun, he'll pay for his freedom with his pot of gold. But this leprechaun was cleverer, more smart than most. "Oh, please, Mr. Mortal Man," he pleaded. "I'm just startin' out making fairy shoes, and I only have 1 or 2 pieces of gold in my pot. Won't you take a wish instead?"
"Why, what would I wish for?" Jamie asked. "Me, who's about to die of starvation because my wife is sick in bed and can't dig the praties out for the winter. And they're such puny praties anyhow."
"Well," said the leprechaun, reaching into his pocket, "you could wish for the biggest pratie in the world. It would last all winter, and you wouldn't have to do anything more than plant this seed, water it,
and wait.
He's giving him a magic seed. I wonder if that will really work. It's kind of making a connection to Jack and the giant beanstalk. There's another folk tale. That sounded wonderful to Jamie.
Done!
He shouted, and as the leprechaun dropped the seed into Jamie's hand, Jamie let go of his coattails, and off that leprechaun scampered. Oh, he's getting away quick. When Eileen heard what he had done, she was furious.
Jamie O'Rourke, you're not only the laziest man in Ireland, but a fool as well. Giving up a pot of gold for a pratty seed? Well, I'm going to plant this seed and water it, and you'll see,
Jamie said, and out he went. Oh my goodness! I guess the seed really worked. Let's see. And faith, Eileen did see. In no time at all, the biggest, finest potato plant had sprouted out of the ground, followed by the potato itself. It was so big, it pushed up not only all the dirt in the garden, but the garden shed and the corner of the cottage as well.
Well, surely now it's ready to dig, Jamie said proudly.
He hoed all around it. That means digging a bit with the hoe first. But he couldn't dig that pratty out of the ground. He got a beam and a big rock and tried to pry it out. He pushed and he pushed, but it wouldn't budge. As he was pondering, that means thinking and wondering, as he was pondering what to do, his neighbor passed by on his way to the village. He couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't wait to tell everyone in the village what he had seen. And before you knew it, the hill up to Jamie's was filled with villagers coming to see the big potato. So there he is trying to dig it out. First digging with the hoe, then prying it with the board. And then here are all the villagers walking up the hill to see his big potato. Where did it come from? They asked. Jamie told them about the lucky night he had caught the leprechaun and how smart he had been.
Why, anyone could have gotten a pot of gold, he bragged, but the biggest pratty in the world? Well, that took some doing.
However did you outsmart a leprechaun? They all asked at once. Jamie hesitated and scratched his head. We'll help you dig up your pratty, Jamie, if you'll tell us how you did it. And they grabbed shovels and hoes and started to dig. Wow, so they want to know how he outsmarted the leprechaun. And they said they'll help him dig out the potato if he can tell them how he tricked the leprechaun. Let's see what happens. Oh no, I think it might start rolling down the hill and make an accident. Let's see. They dug and they dug and they pushed and they shoved until the potato flew up out of its hole. It rolled down the hill faster and faster until it reached the bottom, where it bounced up high and came to a stop, wedged between the stone walls on either side of the road. What to do now? So here it's where they're getting it out, and there it's rolling down the hill. 1, 2, 3, boom, stuck in the road. There's the priest. Maybe he's saying a prayer to get it to move. Let's see what happens.
That pratty is so big that no one, no cart, nothing can get by it,
the constable complained to Father O'Malley. That's the policeman. The constable is complaining to the priest.
How's a body to get in or out of the village?
What shall we do? The villagers wailed.
Then they all looked at Jamie and said, "It's your pratty. You'll have to move it out of our way." "Well," Eileen spoke up, "there's more than enough pratty for everyone. Why don't you all take some?"
Oh, so they're all going to take some pieces off it. Maybe that will help. So the villagers sawed and chopped and carted off huge pieces of potato while Jamie sat on the stone wall and watched. Oh, look, they've got their saws and their axes. They're cutting off pieces of potato here and there and everywhere. All winter long, everyone had potato to eat and eat and eat until no one wanted to see or hear of potato again. Oh, look, these pictures are really fun. So here, he's smiling when he first has this nice big pile of potatoes, and then he's kind of not so happy to be eating mashed potatoes again. And here, this couple, in all the pictures you can see, in the beginning, people are happy with all the potatoes, and then their faces, I think they're feeling a little bored, maybe a little annoyed that they're still eating lots of potatoes. In the spring, Jamie said, "I saved a potato eye for a seed, and it's just about time to plant it." "Oh no," the villagers all cried. "If you promise not to plant it, Jamie, we'll promise before St. Patrick and all the saints to see that you and Eileen always have plenty to cook and eat. We don't want another giant pratty around here." Jamie smiled and agreed. What a perfect life for a lazy man. "And so you see, darling Eileen," Jamie told her, "I wasn't such a fool with that leprechaun after all." And Eileen had to admit that Jamie O'Rourke was right. There's the picture of him with the little potato eye, the potato seed in his hand. And there's all the villagers saying, "No, no, don't plant it." And there he is with Eileen and his family. Oh, and there's the baskets of food that the villagers have already started to bring, so they don't have to worry about food. Oh, and look who we get to see on the last page. The little leprechaun, happy with his pot of gold that he was able to keep away from Jamie O'Rourke with a little trick. How about snip, snap, snap, this tale's told out. Colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. Okay, that's all for today. I think I'm going to go make some Irish soda bread. Well, students, that's all for today. Don't forget to wash your hands regularly, cover your coughs and sneezes. Be sure to get outside, get some fresh air, a little exercise, help your family around the house, do a little writing and a lot of reading. I love you guys and I miss you. Oh, bump.